All right. Good evening, everybody. Hey there, Amanda.
Hi, good evening.
We typically start a few minutes after the hour. So just going to get myself a glass of water. I will be right back. How's that?
All righty.
All right. Hey there, Bill. Amanda's joined us, some other folks. I'm just going to get myself a glass of water. I'll be right back. Amanda, I just emailed you and Andrew the recording from last evening's Gensler session.
I saw that. Thank you so much. I'm really sorry that we weren't able to attend, but I'm really looking forward to reviewing it tomorrow.
Yeah, you
How'd
know,
it go?
the good news, yeah, it was good. I've really become a fan of the Mentimeter tool. Have you
Hmm.
used that
I,
directly, Paul?
I have not.
Well,
Um,
you'll hear a little bit about it and their presentation. I think that we can make good use of it. So we can talk more about that as you know, something we might want to leverage a little bit in some of our outreach activities, either together or apart. But it's the good news is it's free and it's pretty sophisticated, and I like how it flows a discussion. So
love
check it out.
that. This is one of those you can scan a QR code and then type in answers and then they pop up on a screen kind of a thing.
Yeah, and it's so a bit of a wordle. You could use it straightforwardly to um, I don't know, as an icebreaker or to bring groups together in that regard. But you can also do some serious survey questions and have it be that um, you can get the group to amplify their sentiments and it shows on the screen, and
Mhm.
it's finally I don't know, it's you know a, an arrow in the quiver,
Great.
that's yeah, something to
I don't
note.
know many free services like that. I've known some to be like you have to pay for it, like citywide kind of a thing, and it becomes a lot bigger necessarily than just like collecting a quick survey. So I didn't know that was free. That's great. I can use
Yes,
it.
yes, yes, yes. How you doing there, Bill? You are muted. There you go, almost. Yeah, looks like you got to it.
I hope so.
Yeah. How you doing there, Jim? Haven't seen you in a while.
I'm doing fine. I'm driving, so I'll be off camera, but thank you. I'll listen for a little bit.
Good. And Carol, how are you? Chris Lamb, how are you?
Hey,
Nathan,
Chris.
Nathan, hello.
Hey,
Doing well.
Deborah.
Good to be here.
So
Good,
Amanda,
good to be with everyone.
yes,
Hey, everybody.
we'll give people a couple more minutes, Bill. All right.
Okay, sure.
I'm sure we'll hear a little bit more about that tonight, Amanda, but I was on a call this morning with the Housing Authority, and we were talking about community solar. I was circling back with them, and they had mentioned that they understood that city sustainability office was a hub for EV funding.
Funding, interesting.
Yeah. You
I
are
wish.
you are a hub for EV funding.
I wish that were the case.
There you go.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to
So that
talk
you
more
know.
about that with you. I know that community solar is something that I mean, I'll probably touch on it here, but it's something that I really want to get into necessarily, like get into promoting. Because I don't think that we necessarily do a lot of it. Uh, and there's a
Yeah,
lot of great
we're
resources
kind of
out
the
there. It's
lead.
just,
We're
yeah.
kind of the lead educator in town, and what would be interesting, because we started to talk about this, we had our green business friends become ambassadors for the program last year, which was kind of a nice model. I think you'd like what we did with that, and maybe we can replicate it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that would be great. Anything that we can do to promote more information. I think that's good.
Cool.
Amanda, I was at the Sustainable Jersey Sustainability Summit a couple weeks ago. Were you there?
No, unfortunately, I couldn't make it. No, that's amazing. Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, it was a very good program. I still have to write up my notes on it, but I thought it was very good. I met your counterpart from Newark. I forget her name, but she's very
She's
nice.
new. I think she's named Nicole.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, she seems great. I haven't met her in person yet. I'm very excited to meet her. I've had a couple of opportunities to meet a few people from around this area, but I haven't met her yet. I know she's
Right.
like, a couple months in, but she already seems really awesome.
Yeah, she seemed very good.
Hey,
And
welcome, Drea. Welcome, Whitney.
Hi, how are you?
Good. We're just about to get started here. Bill, are you
yes,
expecting anyone else on the call?
God only knows. So we might as well get started. So thank you all for being here. Special thanks, of course, to Amanda Diamond, the Sustainability Director for Jersey City. Amanda, you've been in this position, I guess, for about a year or somewhat less than that. But
yeah.
do you want to just take it from here, or Deb, do you have anything you want to say?
Well, there's, been a lot of catching up that Amanda has done in an extraordinary way to sort of piece together some of what we had, begun in Jersey City over the years. There was a bit of a gap with the previous sustainability director leaving, but she's playing catch up fast and beautifully, and there are a lot of good things going on. So, this is an opportunity for us to hear really from her directly what her priorities are for that office. There are some questions that have kind of been a buzz if people want to catch up on things like urban forestry and, the climate and energy action plan and some of the other stuff that they may know about here and there. This is a very friendly meeting. So you can do this any way you'd like, Amanda. You can have people ask you questions as you go, or, ask people to wait till the end. I'll just let you do this any which way.
Yeah, no, that I love kind of a collaborative interface. I love when people ask me questions, so feel free to interrupt. Raise your hand anytime I'm talking and speaking. First, because I think that this is like actually the first meeting I have attended, one of these meetings at least. I know Deb and I have had many a meeting since coming into the city. So I figured why not give a little bit of my background and how I got to my position last year. I am an arborist by trade. I'm ISA certified. Over the course of 5 years, I worked for New York City's Parks and Recreation as a forester. That's when I got my ISA certification. And prior to that, I even worked for Davey Tree as a plant healthcare technician. So I was very focused on being outdoors in nature and specifically focused on urban forests themselves and preserving them. For 4 years out of my career with NYC Parks, I did do contract management, though, construction contract management, where I was managing sidewalk reconstruction contracts around city-owned trees. So that kind of gave me a really great perspective into what it takes to manage like construction contracts, contractors, working with vendors, arcadists, resident engineers. So it gave me kind of like a really great holistic idea about what it takes to actually manage an urban forest. In addition to managing the urban forest themselves, the trees, wanting to preserve the trees. That's why NYC Parks had the program. So then from there, I spent a little time, about a year. I changed my position to be senior forester and project coordinator for the design and construction team at NYC Parks. That is a team that's made up of landscape architects and engineers and construction project managers, managing forest restoration, wetland restoration, and green infrastructure projects all across NYC. So all 5 boroughs. So again, another heavy construction, but also focusing on preserving and enhancing and growing the urban canopy or natural environment in urban spaces. That I moved to Jersey City. It'll be actually now 4 years. I've been saying 3 years, but now it's officially like nearly 4 years. So I moved to Jersey City 4 years ago, right at during the summer of the pandemic. And even since my time moving to, I live downtown. Even since my time moving to Jersey City, I have seen a tremendous amount of change, and I really fell in love with Jersey City. And so that's where I got the spark to kind of see what was available and what was out there. If I could work and, serve the place that I also live and enjoy. And so that's how I came to find this position. And that's why I'm here today talking to you. I have been in this position since July of last year. And there has been a lot going on. And thank you, Deb, for saying that I've been doing a lot of catch up, because I feel like I'm learning something new every single day. It's been a really big whirlwind. And I really enjoy it, which is lucky enough for me.
That's great.
So
you're not leaving anytime soon.
I'm not
You don't
leaving
have one
anytime
foot out the
soon.
door or anything like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, well,
Yeah, I'm not just going to disappear.
yeah,
I
well,
promise I won't just disappear.
Deb said we lost one, we lost two, Kate Lawrence, and then there was another young woman who we hardly knew her at all, and then she was gone.
She's a phantom in our office because I've never met her, but she's just kind of everywhere. So, no, but so I think that there were like some big gaps to kind of fill and shoes to fill, but luckily I've had a really great team and time kind of merging within the Department of Infrastructure as well, because of the proximity to landscape architects, engineers, traffic engineers, city planners, transportation planners, all of these different things mesh into how do we create urban spaces that are healthy and happy for people while also being safe and not flooding essentially. I couldn't figure out a nicer way to say that, but it's such a unique position to be in, centered in the Department of Infrastructure. So I think that that has been a really great ground for like working on projects together, getting different perspectives, and me giving my perspective as someone who really understands urban canopy super well. So I think that it's a really great fit that sustainability falls into that role as well. Additionally, so since my time here, we've taken a look at the Climate and Energy Action Plan, which was passed or not passed. It was published officially in 2020. It took over 18 months with 200 collaborators, and it is a really remarkable document. Everything that Jersey City is striving for is going above and beyond what the state is, what the state's mandates are, and what the states have like passed as a law. So really, we're doing the utmost, and we are striving to be the best of the best. So that's been really incredible. And so I think that there's a couple different projects that I'd like to at least like kind of touch on and talk about to promote a little. One of which is the ESIP program. That's the Energy Savings Improvement Program. And that's for energy savings, water conservation, and solar installation in municipal buildings across the city. That is nearly complete. We're working on finishing that out as we speak. So I think that there's a couple smaller detailed projects across the board, but solar panels have been installed. We're already seeing the real savings in real time on energy usage across the city. So that's really exciting stuff. And moving into the future, there's going to be, we're not just saying we're, improving. We're not just saying we're installing solar panels and then we're improving these buildings so that they're more energy efficient without also backing that up. So we're going to, after everything is completely installed, there's a second portion of the ESIP program. It's technically called the PASS agreement, but essentially it's a monitoring. So at least for 3 years, we will be consistently monitoring to make sure that we are hitting the energy savings that we were expecting. With all the buildings and all the improvements. So, we're going to be
what are those
doing that.
details? Like what was the projection around how much energy you'd be saving just on a percentage basis by retrofitting all of this?
I actually don't know that. And I'll find that out and I'll get that to you. I don't know what the
Yeah.
percentage overall is. I know that so they had it like marked out by like certain different types of building or different buildings. But I think with the introduction of solar, especially, I can verify that for you.
Yeah, so like if we hit a 20% reduction in our energy usage footprint, that would be interesting. And yeah, how many buildings are we putting solar up on? Do you know that?
Solar, I think, was put on about 5 buildings, if I'm not mistaken, around 5, so only a handful, but 20 buildings overall were upgraded for energy efficiency and like a building enveloping, making sure that like air stays in one particular room, and also water conservation as well. So upgrading the water features as well.
But the energy savings improvement program is just for city-owned buildings, correct?
Yes, they're for municipal buildings.
So is there some way of extending this to commercially owned buildings and residential buildings?
Bingo.
Well, we are thinking about ways to expand out certain programs. As an example, so we're looking for new opportunities, and really that kind of comes a lot with like grant funding or other project funding. Specifically, we just applied last month for it's called the EECVG. Now, let me think through the acronym because I say it very quickly. Energy Efficiency Conservation Block Grant with the DOE. So that we applied for it so that we could do a rebate program for low energy appliances for low income housing. And so that we applied for, I think, $291,000. And the majority of that will go into actually building, or like not building out, will actually go into rebates for houses. But a portion of that will also be us having a consultant help build out a program. Everything that I try to implement or we are looking to design moving forward, I really want to take the approach of I want it to be something that can be replicable. I want either us to be able to do it, us as in Jersey City, to be able to do it on a reoccurring basis with ease, or I want other cities to also be able to use it as well. We are in connection with other counterparts, just like you were talking about with Newark, Bayonne, Hoboken, other cities and municipalities across Jersey City. We're in connection with like a couple of groups. So we do see each other on a regular basis. So anything that we would design, I would want it to be something that can be implemented other places of a similar, not necessarily demographic, of a similar location, Northeast New Jersey. I'm not saying that it can be replicated across the United States, but at least in New Jersey, or maybe some places in New York, this is something that can be used time and again. So that is my hope for all of the programs and projects we really want to get started and design out.
So
And,
that was a residential small appliance rebate program?
To update and upgrade their appliances.
And Amanda, do you know whether many of the newer buildings that have been constructed in Jersey City in the last 5 years or so, or that are currently under construction, have or will have solar panels on them?
No.
I don't know of any buildings that have been constructed that have solar panels on them. There are, I think, there's no requirements at the moment for solar panel construction, and as well as like green or blue roofs. But there is something in the Climate and Energy Action Plan about definitely upgrading our ordinance language and our requirements for developers. And so that's something that we're hoping to look forward to this coming year.
That would be
Hopefully
great.
will be, yeah, it would be amazing. So what we really need though is talented and skilled people to really help us with that. And so I think that there is definitely some need for, like right now, the division is entirely up to myself and Andrew Fenwick, who may or may not have like joined this meeting previously. I think that he has. So we're just a team of 2 right now, but that is something that we really want to do in the future, in the near future. In addition to
Think about reconstituting a task force that worked on this to make the recommendations in that plan. If you're looking at thinking through, because there was a lot of expertise in, including, the city's ESCO company, on that, looking at incentives for building owners beyond what the state is offering to retrofit those buildings. There's extraordinary cost savings available, but it becomes, as you say, programmatically about reaching out to these building owners and making them aware of this. So,
I agree. No, I think that starting a task force is one of the is also something that's in the plan itself. And right now we don't have the capacity to really even like plan that out. So what I'm hoping for is, like we'll have some additional staff maybe come on to handle more of the like the tree planting contract, if we could hire a forester. And so we're working on a couple different things to like get people hired in so that we can like shift the thought process. We can offload some of our work and we can take on some of this work that I know is necessary, but maybe we just don't have the time to kind of like really plan. So
Okay,
that's
so
kind
so
of
tick
a little bit of a
tick
like the reality of it.
so TikTok maybe this coming year. Have you guys gotten a
I would
budget
hope so.
increment for more staff?
We are currently accepting resumes for an environmental engineer and a forester
An
and
environmental,
engineer and a
oh, okay.
forester. So if you know anybody who's looking for a a position, and they have either a background in forestry or engineering, definitely tell them to apply. We're still accepting resumes and applications every single day. So we are very hopeful. And additionally, also the budget is going to be passed, I think sometime soon in the next like month or two. So all of this is good news. All of this is just like coming down the pipeline, but we'll see how it all shakes out.
Okay. So this is an
Um,
exciting time.
yeah.
You might be leaning into growth mode.
Exactly. I think that we're in a really good position with both Andrew and I being on this team, and we are looking to grow the team. Additionally, with the like we have a couple of grants coming up too, and if I may kind of like change onto the grants. So on top of the fact that we have a new tree planting contractor who is out there currently planting trees across the city, we are going to be planting over 90 trees this spring, significantly more than we were thought we were going to be able to do because of our coordination with the Department or Division of Forestry and Mike DeCancia, the forester. So real big help there. And also just a lot of like team effort in securing like funds and stuff. So we're really excited. And so far there's been, like nothing but like a positive experience working with this contractor. They are very responsive, attentive. They know what they're doing.
Who are they, Amanda?
They're Downs Tree Service.
Downs?
Downes, as in
Okay.
Kevin Downs. And so, so far, I have like I have really good faith in them, um, with their expertise, attention to detail, the questions that they're asking, and the ideas they're coming up with to that they're coming up with to like even improve the project itself. So we're really looking forward to kind of like continuing and finishing out this planting season, and I think it's going to be really good. So
So
stay tuned.
I know that you had mentioned this once before, but you know, that's a very small number of trees, right? So what are your thoughts? And I've forgotten the number that you threw out there, that by the end of the year, between this planting season and the fall, that we would have managed to plant how many trees this year?
Well, that all depends on budget. However, I am I set up the contract. Originally the contract was bid so that we would be able to plant at least 500 trees. Now the contract is incredibly high, that it did come back with a bid. So it all depends on funding, but I'm going to maximize the funding everywhere we can, including using forestry to plant trees in places. If we can't plant trees in the sidewalks because of lack of funds, we can still have trees planted in parks or lawns or any other like like grass area necessarily that the city owns. So I think there's a lot of opportunity regardless of how much we plant in the sidewalk itself, in the right of way. So stay tuned for the number that we hopefully will plant. Last year we planted over 415 trees. I can't remember the number off the top of my head, but we got pretty close to that 500 number. And I think with the 500 number in the climate and energy action plan, we said that we would increase our tree canopy by 20%. And with our inventory, we have 17,000 trees. And so that is roughly around 3,500 trees. So we are shooting for 500 a year.
Could you state that again? You wanted to, where was that citing of increasing the canopy by what percentage?
So I'll double check real quick, but the Climate and Energy Action Plan cited a goal to plant, expand the tree canopy by, silly, okay, hold on.
Back in 2017, we shot for 3% of an increase, but I'm not sure where that target ever came from or if it was sustained.
Yeah. So it was 20% of our canopy. We're trying to increase the canopy by 20%. And the statistics that we're using right now is just the raw number of trees. So we're not looking at the actual canopy coverage. I know that we're that you're like focusing on LiDAR, which is absolutely fantastic and certainly something that we want to do. But when we're talking about increasing our canopy, and that's also from 2020, which we don't have necessarily the inventory at this time, or like we don't have the inventory back then, but of the trees since the inventory was finished last July, we have 17,000 trees. And to increase the canopy by...
So you want to go to 20,000 or you want to increase the canopy by 20%?
We want to increase, we put in the plan a goal to increase the canopy by 20%.
Really? Really? Okay, that's pretty wowsy.
And but 20% increase over whatever it is now, 17%, or going from
17,000.
17,000. Mm-hmm. So our goal then, if we're looking out to, specifically, we're kind of looking out to 2030, where a lot of these deadlines are coming up fast. That is generally about 500 trees per year. So that's why our goal fell into 500 trees per year, including this year.
When you say 2030 deadlines, which deadlines are you referring to?
The Climate and Energy Action Plan.
Oh, okay. So there is a 2030 milestone date. Because
there are 2030 milestone dates.
2050. Okay, that's great.
Well, there are some 2050 milestones, but that's like a 80% reduction of emissions by 2050. I think it's the 80 by 50.
50,
yeah. So there are milestones to hit for 2025. I don't know all of them off the top of my head. There are milestones to hit for 2030, and there are milestones to hit for 2050. And
that
so
is great news, because all the task force people who were involved were saying, where are the incremental milestone dates? So that has been put into the plan is great.
Yeah, no, they're in the plan. And so I think now with consistent leadership and staff, with a growing staff, I think that we're actually going to be able to hit a lot of these milestones, and I'm really excited about it. And I think that there's a tremendous amount of focus and support for all of these initiatives now. So I think that we're in a really good position.
So support from the mayor's office, funding, the community certainly supporting you.
The community is supporting us. And every whenever I reach out to or have been reached out to by council, I think that we get a lot of positive feedback from council as well. Councilwoman Prince Ray is very active, and so she joins us, or she leads the Shade Tree Committee, and I always attend the Jersey City Environmental Commission meeting as well, and so we're getting new commissioners that are signed off by the mayor. So I think that there's a lot of momentum to get new people in, and it's a lot of positive support from a lot of different angles.
That's great. If you guys
If
need,
if I could interrupt, Deb, Robert Fu asked, could the meeting still be open to new participants? So new people can come in anytime, right?
this meeting, of
Yes.
course.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
also,
they just need the link, which is typically sent to them through the
yeah,
registration page. So Robert,
yeah. So
if you would
Robert,
like to share that, please do.
So I
Yeah.
could, I could just send them the link then.
Yeah,
yes.
Okay.
And Jim Nelson posted a comment in the chat. The school district folks, the ESIP folks, DCO, plans and education component, and he asked if the city and school district could jointly leverage ESIP awareness to promote community replication of community energy and sustainability among commercial zones and housing. So, do you have any comment on that?
we've been
Yeah.
talking about this, right, Amanda?
Yeah, we have been talking about this. So I think that there's a lot of opportunity there. I would love to collaborate more with the school district. And I think Deb is doing a great job kind of like pushing that. I specifically about the ESIP, I do want to get together with them. And especially now that we have our tree planting kind of like up and running and, Earth Month essentially is behind us. I think this summer we'll have a lot more opportunity for that collaborative process because I do think that specifically when it comes to ESIP, that's a really great that's a really great merriment there. Additionally, we have been becoming more active in schools. Thank you to Deb. I was able to attend a school's like Earth Day celebration on Earth Day. And so that was pretty spectacular. I got to walk around and kind of like listen to them and kind of give my own, I have a presentation for elementary school students. I've given it twice now, and I think we're looking more and more into the future of kind of giving presentations and being in a collaborative space and getting specifically students and the youth of Jersey City more involved and care about their environment. So yeah, we're all of that. Very much looking forward to it.
So for folks on the call, you, Amanda, we're hosting DCO and Solar Landscape on this call next month to close out the season before we take off for the summer. That would be next month on Wednesday, June 19th. As the last presentation DCO had presented last September, and they'll catch everyone up on the progress, including the solar installation activity. So it's the largest ESIP in the state going on there.
Yeah, and Amanda, if you could join us for that meeting on June 19th, that would be great. It's this,
Yeah, I
if
think
you're
I would
available.
love to try to make it. That would be,
Yeah.
that sounds amazing. I'd love to hear
And
more
Deb,
about what they're doing.
Are we getting anyone from the school district as well to talk about what, their perspective as well as DCO?
I'll reach out to the green team to see if they'd like to join. What they're working on also, and that attributes, and that was also another touch point, is the Sustainable Jersey for Schools scorecard program, which for both the school district respectively for that program, and then the Sustainable Jersey program, municipal program for city, which the sustainability office has feverishly been working on also. There's touch points on all this stuff, to Jim's point, where these actions, right, can be mapped across these big, sort of scorecard programs where stuff like, energy savings and green infrastructure and, some of what is even being done with the arts in schools or, and the city or food systems. I mean, there's lots of ways to, I think, connect and build momentum together, and that scorecard program is an easy excuse because they have everything, delineated. It's Chinese menu of options and where to collaborate on stuff.
Yeah, I think that that would be amazing. I am a huge supporter of connecting people and kind of cross collaborating on projects where it needs to be. And yeah, I agree. I'll see what I can do about joining.
Great.
Right. And to your point in getting, youth more involved, you should say something about, your interest in developing, youth workforce training and conservancy. That is a brilliant idea.
Yeah, that is a part of, I think actually two specific grants, that both, Jersey City led the application for and, Sustainable Jersey City was actually part of too. And surprised we got both. That doesn't happen often. So, Jersey City applied for the USDA's, IRA UCF grant, which is the Urban Community Forestry Grant. And that is the $2 million grant where we're going to be planting over 150 trees on MLK down along MLK in the Jackson Hole Main Street area. In addition to that, we are also going to be looking to design and implement a tree ambassador program. There's going to be youth opportunities for youth workforce development and youth internship program. We definitely want to kind of like get the word out and be more involved in that. And additionally, in addition to that, we also have the Environmental Justice Government to Government Grant, which is something that we are going to be partnering with also SJC, but Team Wilderness as well. So that also has a youth element of getting kids out into nature, understanding their own environment, getting them excited and getting them to care. So yeah, that's a really, really exciting thing. We also hope for the future to, so the tree ambassador program would be across the city, but also additionally, we're looking to maybe come up with some other like ambassador programs as well, seeing how we can implement it and maybe collaborate with other municipalities to kind of make it a regional wide ambassador program. So we're looking into new opportunities there as well.
Excellent.
Amanda, we have constituents who are wanting to get their hands dirty and plant trees. Do you guys need, a volunteer corps to help with that? Does that help your contract arrangements with dams and the capacity maybe the forestry division does or doesn't have to do the tree planting if you have volunteers?
I think that so not for this season, but maybe the fall or next spring season. I'd really like to get because I know that there's been a lot of like reach out about like actually being out in nature and doing the work. Now, with this grant, we also have the Tree and Trash Action Campaign, which was founded with SJC. And hopefully, I think with, being something that was designed by SJC originally, they're going to be helping with a new vendor that we're going to be kind of like putting out or collecting bids for. But that is also a part of this project as well, is that we're going to have some cash to be able to do that. Now that really focuses less around actually planting trees and more about, like cleaning up tree beds and taking a lot of like ownership of the space that's directly in front of someone's house or their own street. But when it comes to tree planting, I'd really like to start doing, because we do work really well in tandem with the forestry division, to offer opportunities to kind of like either, like come out and review, or kind of do general trainings for tree plantings as well, or maybe just like general cleanup. So I think that there's a lot of opportunity coming up specifically because of these grants. But as of right now, there's not necessarily anything at the moment for people to really get their hands dirty. Unless they wanted to volunteer with their own parks. If you have a park in your area, I wholeheartedly, say like reach out to any of the conservancy managers of the park, or to the Parks Coalition, because I know that they have a lot of events too. And there's a lot of other things happening as well, like this Great Jersey City cleanup that's happening this Saturday. So I think that there's opportunities in that way that just aren't out of this office though.
Yeah, when, that comes around, there would just, I field a lot of requests for people who want to help plant trees. I mean, even, corporate volunteer days, they're, the first thing they ask about, can we help you, you guys plant trees? So when that comes around, it would be, I think, terrific to act on that. I have a question about the forestry standards. Which
All right.
one more thing that you're catching up on. I understand, the last published copy was 2018. We worked on that through the Shade Tree Committee. They were just, a bunch of, there was a lot of effort put into getting those updated. Could you comment on where that is at? And then I had two constituents who asked specifically about the tree removal clause in the forestry standards and how trees are being protected.
And Natalie Lamone wants to ask a question, I think so.
That as well.
That's very much in line with my question. So I'd love to hear Amanda. Amanda, are you I'm sorry, I just got into the meeting. Are you with the city forestry division?
Oh, yes, I saw a couple people joined. So I am Amanda Diamond. I'm the Director of Sustainability for Jersey City, and specifically sustainability manages the tree planting contracts, while the Division of Forestry manages existing fully grown trees. In a broad sense. But we work really well together. Both the senior forester, Mike DeCantia, and I are ISA certified arborists. And we really, we have a deep love and passion for trees. And so the forestry standards, we have been working on minor updates. So they actually, the forestry standards of 2022 were passed in a resolution back last February, February 2023, and they needed slight amendments and updates. And so we are finalizing that. And I really mean it this time. It's going to be a couple more weeks, but I think that they're going to be officially like published, announced, and shared in the next couple of weeks.
Fabulous. So are you familiar with, and that's great news. Thank you so much, for, sort of putting your shoulder to that. Are you familiar with the tree removal clause?
Yeah, so any trees that are going to be removed on city property, which includes the city right of way, sidewalks, they if they're going to be removed by a developer, they have to either pay restitution, which goes to which is handled through the Division of Forestry, or restitution in lieu of planting trees. They have to plant their own trees in and around the area that they remove trees. That is only for city property or city right of way at this time.
So are there a lot of, and maybe Natalie wants to speak to this in particular, because we had some exchange about, some mature trees that were being taken down by developers, the process through which they need to obtain a permit, or, if as a last resort, trees need to be removed, the kind of restitution, because the last time I was part of this conversation, there was a cap on how much you could, ask a developer to contribute to a fund, and, a large tree would require replacement by 3 smaller trees, which of course we didn't want. We wanted that mature tree. So how did all that get reconciled, and is it reconciled to your satisfaction?
So again, there is a permitting process, and certainly the city forester comes out, observes the trees themselves, and they are required to pay a restitution if they take down a tree, they don't want to plant trees. The way that we determine the value of the tree is by it's called the TVIR system. And so in short, we say TIVR. So with that, we don't just have like a large tree. It's not a one-to-one for developers. It is a certain based on the health of the tree, the size of the tree, and also the species of the tree and the placement of the tree. All of these things factor into how many trees they need to replace. And there is no cap at the moment. In fact, our forester has been doing a phenomenal job, and he is fighting diligently and successfully to get developers, if they take down trees, they are paying restitution. We got a check for over $100,000 just back in January because a developer took down so many trees. And so
That is
that's huge. So
right.
we're
Is
very
that $1,000 now devoted to a tree planting fund or maintenance of some kind? Is it earmarked?
That's what we're working on now. The actual the not necessarily the legality. It is taking some time, and we need to figure out how that can happen. But yeah, that's the full intent of this fund of us collecting restitution, is to go into tree planting. And so right now we're working through it with the financial office, just because previously we would accept maybe like $1,000 or $2,000 from developers previously. So
Crazy.
it certainly has this is significant, and we're going to
Yes.
continue to kind of like push and fight. Specifically, Mike's doing a great job for it. So that recently happened, and that kind of shows like where our thought process is. People, you can't just take down trees. So that is the extent of what we can do, because right now, as far as it goes for this forestry standards, and also as part of the like forestry ordinance or the trees ordinance, right now we can operate only, or we can kind of really ask that if it's within the city right of way.
Yeah. Amanda, to switch the subject a bit, what about EVs and charging stations? I believe that the Climate and Energy Action Plan included certain milestones for EVs in the city fleet, or at least I would hope hybrids. And obviously there is a great need for charging stations. Can you update us on those issues?
So, this Division of Sustainability does operate and manage the charge point charging stations. And actually, since the implementation of just the city-owned charging stations, obviously there are other charging stations across the city that are not owned by the or managed by the municipality. So I can only see the data that's coming from our charging stations. And our charging stations from 2019, when they were first installed, over time have saved in the last 5 years over 400,000 kilograms of greenhouse gases. So we are making consistent and progress and efforts to add new charging stations. Recently, or like as of this year, we're looking to actually have out a new RFP for charging stations. So we have charge point charging stations that are currently existing, and we're looking for new opportunities to expand it. Additionally, I would also like to say that working alongside transportation planning, the Division of Transportation Planning is also really looking to emphasize and promote more mobility, micromobility and charging infrastructure across the city. So we're working in tandem with each other to kind of like come up with new ideas and approaches where we can expand the charging capabilities to, maybe like set up some sort of or like increase the amount of e-bikes, get people out of cars and onto bikes. So there are a lot of efforts that we're doing together in the same fashion to kind of like decrease the greenhouse gases in that way. So it's not just that we're focusing only on EV charging or EV cars.
Yeah, okay. And what about food waste and composting? What's happening there?
So that is handled out of the Division of Recycling, who also works really well. We work really well with. We absolutely love recycling. They have collected over, I can double check the number real quick, but they have collected several tons. How many tons? Let's find out. Let me just look this up. Yep. Over 245,000 pounds of organic waste, or 122 tons of organic waste have been collected through just composting alone since their inception of their project. So that's fantastic. And they're also doing a significant number to promote more organic waste compost collection sites. They have over 20 at this point all across the city, and they're constantly looking for new opportunities to kind of expand and create bigger and better composting. I think that because of Director Dublin's work, we are kind of leading the charge in our area because of that.
Okay, thank you.
So that's the residential composting program, right, Amanda? So are we doing anything with the restaurant trade in Jersey City around promoting, the separation of the organic waste from the trash and all that?
We are not doing anything like that so far. We do offer, or like it's more focused on residential houses at the moment. And I think that is something that they would like to maybe look into the future to do in the next couple of years. I think that there's a lot of expanding that they're hoping to accomplish, but I don't want to put words in their mouth. I don't necessarily know if that's something that they have the capacity to do.
Okay, thank you.
So any questions from anyone else?
I see something in here about what does DPW do with all of the compost? That is an excellent question. So there are days that they give it out in the spring to residents. If they sign up online, they can be provided compost if you do have like a garden in your backyard. So that's something that they offer. Additionally, I think that they give it to all their locations. I think that they can't sell it for a profit, but they can certainly they're able to kind of like give it where it is most needed and it's going to be used. But their vendor right now does take it out of the city for to do the regular composting.
Are they still working with Community Compost Company
I don't know.
up in the Hudson Valley?
Yeah, I don't know who their vendor is off the top of my head.
Okay, all right.
Any
What's
other
the most
questions? Oh.
exciting thing that you're working on right now? There's lots of promise in what you've shared here tonight. Just curious, like,
Yeah. I think the thing I'm most excited for is to finally be making headway and start receiving or start make sure that this grant gets executed, this UCF grant, because that's $2 million. That's a huge project community involvement, working with Jackson Hill Main Streets SID. So I think that for me, that's a 5-year grant though. So there's going to be, there's going to be an ebb and flow to it. It's not going to all happen at once, but I do think that there is, the biggest buzz I think around our office is really, we're finally kind of moving forward and we're about to execute that grant.
Okay. Well, good luck with everything on that.
Thank you. Grants are tricky
Tricky.
and a little tiring, but we are making headway. So I'm very happy.
Okay. Does anyone have any other questions for Amanda?
I have a question. Getting back to trees on private property. So one of my sort of pet issues is like the loss of these beautiful old trees that are on the interior of residential lots, which I understand are out of the city's jurisdiction. But what do we do to, let's say, encourage people to, and I see those, disappearing one by one, like on my block. What do we do to encourage people to keep those old trees? And
Or to replace them if, they're diseased, or if,
or
what,
I know obviously people are, I'm a homeowner, people are concerned about falling branches. I mean, does the city offer, let's say, technical advice as to helping people determine what trees are safe or not safe?
So not at this time. Right now so back to the first part of your question, there is no regulation that we can, that we do for trees that are on private property,
Yeah, I
that's
understand that.
not owned by the city, unfortunately. We hope, and I think that the zoning board does a really good job of trying to get developers to really get to know their community and connect them with community groups, where community groups can voice their concerns, or they can have those conversations. So I do think that our zoning and planning department is really good with that. And then when it comes to offering advice, I don't think that we can do that. I can offer, or like if you could provide me a little bit more information, I'll drop my email in the comment section here, and I can follow up on that for you. Especially if you're saying that you're a homeowner and you're concerned about your tree in your backyard, I'd like to help you in any way that I can, but I don't have that right now.
Not a specific concern. I mean, I don't have a specific tree I'm concerned about. It's just, it's more general in that I see these trees disappearing from people's properties one by one.
Mm-hmm.
Well, perhaps we could ask whether Amanda has heard about the particular, there is a tree in question that has been brought to some of our attentions. That's the reason that both Robert and I are at the meeting tonight. Are you familiar with any of the conversations that were had around the magnolia tree, the old growth magnolia tree on 139 and Fleet Street?
Yeah, I am familiar with it. Mm-hmm.
Right. So there's a couple different groups that are coming together with concerns specifically about mature trees, because there's a huge difference in terms of the functions provided by a mature tree versus even 3 brand new young ones. That's still a city tree issue. But for this particular case, it doesn't seem like the city would have been able to do anything anyway, since it wasn't a street tree. But I guess the overlapping concern of our group is one of, is it on the city's radar at all about the loss of old growth trees? And is that factoring at all into your tree counts and into the tree removal policy? And just anything about that particular issue, because that was one in which many different groups came together to speak to the neighborhood association. apparently tried to reach out to you. So what was your experience with that, if any?
So I do know of the magnolia, and I actually passed by it today. It looks very beautiful. So I am aware of it, and as of right now, to speak on the inventory, no, we're not inventorying trees that are not on city property, not on public property. And I think that we actually need to, the inventory specifically needs to include a couple of parks as well. So there's more trees to come. I can't really offer any guidance at this time just because, there's not a lot that I can do in my position with the way that the tree ordinance is written and set up. So we are limited in our capacity to do anything as the city goes. And then I really can't offer anything else at this time, unfortunately.
So Natalie, before, and Robert was on the call, but there is, focus in the forestry standards, which are just a couple of weeks away from being published. Originally when we were working on the tree ordinance, we tried to have some of the thought process being discussed here embedded in the ordinance, in the tree removal section of the ordinance, and it was uncomfortable with the legal department suggesting that be relegated to putting more details about the policy about this in the forestry standards. That's why I was asking you, Amanda, about what made it into the forestry standards about tree removals, and is there, because even people on private property look to the forestry standards, whether it's the approved list of trees or, just a bunch of different things. So, to have encouragement or some, I don't know, just like inclusive of everyone. There's a developer's policy, there's a street tree policy, but even what we're doing with this Canopy study now, what Jarlath had found in the last two cities that he had, that UVM had done that Canopy study, is that the real opportunity for those cities to plant more trees was on private property. So the city had then worked with private property owners to sort of encourage a program of tree planting on private property. So I don't know, I guess the conversation could go on and on about this as a set of opportunities at some point or another.
If I could just ask, going back to city trees, since that is the area that you have the most influence over, and it seems that the forestry standards is going to be making those little tweaks as it pertains to developers and city trees. I guess I'm just wondering, will there be any language, or are you taking into consideration at all the notion of non-diseased, of course, old growth trees? Is there going to be any emphasis or any initiative to try and preserve those, recognizing that they have, particular roles and functions, and that it's not just a direct substitute or a fitting substitute to just continuously replace with new young trees? When we're looking for the tree shade committee, I know that's obviously has to do with shade and other things like that, the roles that trees play in lowering the temperatures and so on and so forth. I imagine you guys take all of that into consideration. So what are the thoughts on that?
We do take that into consideration. So the way that the valuation system that we have for trees when developers want to remove them, I touched on it earlier, but I don't remember if we're here. So it is the tree valuation, if I'm not mistaken, it's tree valuation inventory tool. It's called the TVIR. And so I can also, before we leave today, I'll also include the approved forestry standards as part of that ordinance. And when I say the amendments need to be done, I need to, or we needed to do things like make sure that the links are functioning, update phone numbers. So we're not changing the actual language of the standards. The majority of the language is really staying the same. It's updating and finalizing the appearance, and also making sure like phone numbers are up to date. So I do want to say that like the language that's in the forestry standards is staying consistent. When it comes to the tree removal section, I don't know that necessarily super well. I have read it over. It is correct. I think it does talk specifically about what you're talking about. And with that valuation system that we use, we do look at the health of the tree from the roots, trunk, branches, and buds. So across entirely all around 360, as far as we can see on the ground, we are looking at the health of the tree. We are looking to see if it is a native species or if it's a non-native species, and whether it's in a good location. How valuable is a tree that's been, maybe like pruned because it's under wire and it's a like lion tailing. So we're looking at the quality of the tree, the species of the tree, the size of the tree, and all of these different factors when we go into making that determination. And again, that is specifically for just street tree. You're welcome. And I can pull that up for you now, because if anyone doesn't know, you can find the resolutions online on the Jersey City website, but I'll make sure to drop them in the chat before the end of the night. But you can still ask me questions even though I'm doing this.
I'm sorry, what are you dropping? The final draft of the forestry standards?
Not the final draft, but the approved draft as per the resolution of February. I think it's February 8th, 2023. So
And
I
is
can
it
pull
the case
that
that the
and just give you like a PDF. There we
Okay,
go.
and is it the case that the forestry standards, the intent is for it to be updated every year then? And the
Not the
citizen,
forestry standards to be updated every year, but we do want to update consistently. Like the next update that we need to do is update the value that we give of like how valuable it is to plant a tree. Right now, it is incredibly expensive to plant a tree, and we are using our old data because we had a contractor that was cheaper than our new contractor. So there's elements to that need to be updated. But as far as when it comes to like restitution, we are all in agreement that we are going to do everything in our power to kind of go make sure that we are actually accepting and gaining and doing the proper valuation of a tree to determine any restitution that happens.
cool, Amanda, thank you. Yes.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I have one. A couple of years ago, it must be about 3 or 4 years ago, I contacted really SeeClickFix about a diseased tree on Duncan Avenue. And Duncan Avenue has some beautiful old trees. They did take it down, but nothing has replaced it. It's not my property or anything like that. How can we get a tree planted to replace it? Because some of the other trees on Duncan Avenue are starting to look a little sad too. So if we don't replace them, after a while, it won't be such a beautiful splock.
Mm-hmm. I encourage everyone, and I can throw this in there as well. It's not working. Okay. To please put in a request for our form online. I'll drop that in there real quick. I do have that one drafted up. That is the best way that we are able to manage our tree planting contract and the requests that come in. So please, anytime that you see a tree is dead and dying, needs to be replaced, or specifically a street that doesn't have trees, feel free to reach out through there.
Okay, but do you have to be the property owner though? Because this is right next to an apartment complex.
You do not have to be the property owner. We will take anything as vague as there are no trees on street A from Main Street to First Street, something like that. We take a look, we see where else we can go. Because of the inventory, and hopefully we'll be able to map it properly with like upcoming software that we're going to be using the grant to purchase. So we're hopefully not going to have to rely specifically on people telling us, but right now we're, the foresters out there consistently every single day, but we're not certainly able to be out there every day. And so we have been relying on the voices of the people to kind of like let us know where trees are necessary and needed. And with this tree planting that we're happening this spring, we're doing a significant amount of trees in like bigger clusters. Our contractor started just recently, and so we needed to make sure that we wanted to plant as many trees as possible, but also make it as condensed as possible to get them in the ground faster. So we're specifically focusing on planting like large clusters and large clusters that could be oaks, because oaks can only be planted in the spring. So big areas with no overhead wires. That was our kind of focus this spring. But coming this fall, we're going to be looking for anything and everything. And the more requests that we have, the more places that we can look out for and go to.
So do you guys still use ClickFix?
We do, but if someone was to put a request for a tree, for us to plant a tree, we would just direct them to the Cognito form that I put in the chat. We don't use ClickFix in that way. It's much more difficult to manage requests like that.
Okay. Noted.
But anytime that you, put in a request for tree pruning, we do, trees will either come to us or they will come to forestry. And forestry uses ClickFix very regularly and very well. So they're very much on that.
Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to share in the chat, Amanda, before we wind down?
Yes, one last thing. Okay, I'm going to drop the PDF of the resolution that was passed for updating the forestry standards real quick. Now, it is still draft form, but this is what we used, and our language is not necessarily changing. What is changing is what are changing are links and specifically the formatting.
And Amanda, perhaps if you could put in your email address as well.
Of course.
Thank you so much. This was a very good discussion.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I cannot drop it from my computer, and I don't know why.
If you email that to me, because what we are going to do is post the recording, and I can post the link to that under the recording. Typically, we post people's presentation materials, so we'll just post that particular document under the recording for this session, if you'd like.
Okay, that works.
Okay.
And then we'll be posting the finalized updated forestry standards on our website shortly.
Very good.
Okay. Well,
We
Amanda,
are good, I think.
Yeah, thank you so much. This has been very informative. And Amanda, Eileen Poyani, Director of Sustainability at St. Peter's University, asked me to put her in touch with you. She knew Kate Lawrence and she knows Deb, so I'll
please
send you to an introductory email.
That would be fantastic. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So Deb, we're good, and
we are good. See y'all next month. You know, we're closing out the season with a presentation
June
once again
19th.
for those who missed it. Yeah. with the school district catching us up on their energy improvement or their energy savings improvement plan for the district.
Right.
Thank
So,
And folks
thank
who
you all
are
for having me.
on the call, please encourage your friends, colleagues, neighbors to join us for these meetings. Okay.
very
Okay.
good.
No, will do.
Thank-
Thank you very
thank you.
much.
All right.
Okay, thank
Thank
you.
you so
Have a
much.
great day.
Thank
Bye
you.
now.
Thank you.